I would like to say welcome to our webinar series about the human experience research. Today, we are very proud to present you our brand new tool to measure eCom effects. And we would like to take you on a journey from an ad context and a social media context directly into the shopping cart of an online shop. That is, first of all, my colleague Lisa. Lisa's with iSquare now for over 4 years and a true expert for online ad research. And she's responsible for the eCom effect tool here at iSquare. And of course, she has worked on the recent study and will present all the interesting results later on.
Yeah, and this is Stefan Schönherr. He's with iSquare for over 10 years now, and he's the unit lead of the brand and media experience team and also partner at iSquare.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Yeah, then here's a short overview. We will start with some words about iSquare and our philosophy. Then I will explain shortly what in-context testing is. We use this test procedure for this kind of testing. And then, of course, the main part is about the impact of Instagram and YouTube ads on e-commerce behavior. To start with iSquare, we are in the market now for 21 years, founded in 1999. Apart from our unit, the brand and media unit, we have two other big units that are working in the field of user experience and shopper research. We are 82 consultants. Apart from our headquarters in Berlin, we have offices in Tokyo, Hong Kong, London, and New York. And we use unique software technology for live ad injections. You will learn about this later in the presentation. And we are engaged in several academic corporations with our research techniques, especially. And we work for over 300 customers worldwide. You can see some of them here. For us, from the brand and media experience team, it is very important that we not only work for advertisers, big advertisers, but also for big publishers and marketers. So we're not only looking at single ad campaigns and single creatives, but also compare different ad formats, look after new ad formats, and even compare complete media channels against each other. So yeah. That's what it is. Yeah, what makes us unique? I would raise 3 points here. First of all, is in context, we have a very natural environment for our ad testings. Then, secondly, we are an implicit company as well. Apart from questionnaire and interview data, we apply a broad set of implicit measurements like facial expression tracking and reaction time-based measurement. And we are automated and agile. That means that our tools are available for online testing approaches, that our tools are using interfaces, that they produce automated test results and can be integrated in already existing systems. And we as media psychologists, we work, of course, model-based to explain what we call the human experience. What we basically say is that the experience of a human being consists of 3 different systems. I think most of you know or have heard about the system 1 and system 2. But we say that there's a third system called system 0, which is about perception and which is very important when it comes to the understanding of human experience, especially when it comes to research about marketing and ad campaigns. We see that perception is the key of the key messages of these campaigns is very important as a precondition to make communication a successful one. In other words, if you do not see an ad or pay attention to it, it cannot be effective at all. This is why we are working here with a lot of very important techniques to understand perception. Of course, we use eye tracking to understand attention spans. But we also created this experimental playground in context to be able to do research in a way that guarantees that we produce most realistic media usage situations. That is really important, especially in the digital world, because in the digital world, you're not longer able to just build simple mockups, but you need to use interactive, authentic platforms with live content that is up to date and of course personalized for the customer, because there's no shared media reality in these channels anymore. Yeah, that is how it looks like. These moments of contact. Users can just browse freely into a social media environment and social feed, can do what they would normally do, and we can observe what happens when they have an ad contact. Yeah, you see here the blue dots are gaze moments where we measure eye tracking, yeah, it's really important to do it like this. I mean, if you imagine you would just show the ad and ask people, okay, how do you like the ad? Of course, you would get maybe interesting results, but this would not reflect the situation where these ads are played normally, like here in this context. They have really to compete about attention. That is what our in-context testing is all about. Doing this in context research for years now, we have tested a lot of ads over the past years and have done a meta-analysis. I would just show one slide out of this because it will be there will be another webinar next week going deeply into this field. But one important thing here is we call it the attention span you have for all these different ads, yeah, these ad contacts. And we call it the magical 2.5 seconds. What you see here is just a very simple analysis. You see that yeah, more than half of all ad contacts we have researched were below 2.5 seconds, and yeah, the other half was more than 2.5 seconds. So you have two strategies here. The one is you should make sure that you convey your message, your key message, within the first 2.5 seconds. That's the one strategy here. And the other one is, of course, being so exciting and so interesting with your communication that you have many users or customers that are yeah, likes to follow your ad a bit longer, and so you can create yeah, an ad contact or an ad moment that is longer than 2.5 seconds. And we will see later on that this is really important when it comes to, yeah, different ads and different platforms. All right. Yeah, but knowing that we have this possibility to get to know so much about the moment of truth, we call it the moment of truth, the moment of ad contact, where we can measure attention spans in a live context, and where we use behavioral metrics like viewability and eye tracking. The big question is, how do we measure buying attention? Because buying attention is, of course, with all respect to all the other metrics, yeah, a key ad effectiveness KPI. Yeah, there are some people saying, okay, everything is nice, like getting attention, getting recall, but in the end, my ad should sell products. Yeah, and the question is now, how do we measure this? And normally, and I think that's what most of you do know, it's measured like this. Yeah, you just, after an ad contact or an ad exposure, you invite people to fill out a questionnaire, and there, of course, you ask brand metrics. Yeah, like I'm interested in the brand, and I would like to know more about the brand. Yeah, and of course, you have other metrics like relevance, set, and first choice. So the big question is here: is this the way you want to measure buying attention? Yeah, we are really, yeah, we really like to do it in a different way, because we know that behavioral data is very important. So we just created a new idea, that is the eCom effect tool, basically, how to measure buying attention. And this looks like this. You're not taken to a questionnaire, but into an online shop. And there you can just search for products, yeah, in this case on Amazon. Then you are shown a results list, in this case runners, a lot of different runners. You can just browse these results list and then have a look at different products. go on the detail page. Yeah, just do whatever you want to do. You can look for different products. And of course, in the end, you of course can also buy a product. Yeah. And the best thing is we can measure all these things respondents are doing in this situation. And that's why we would say, I mean, it's of course your decision, but the better way to measure this topic, buying intention, is of course the customer journey we provide here. So being able to do this, we just thinking of why not combining it. We have this our cutting edge in context ad exposure tool, and why not combining this with this eCom effects situation. So that's just what we did in our study, and that's how it looked like. So as you already said, people are just invited in the eCom study to browse through a natural environment in a social media context. We make sure that they have an ad contact. Later on, they are taken into an Amazon shop, browse for products, and we make sure they have contact to the product there for which they've just seen an ad. So we can yeah, just measure what happens here in this situation. Yeah, and in the eCom effect study, in the case study we did not just research this for one single brand or ad, but we did this for 6 different brands like NAS, L'Oreal, Adidas, Nike, Bose, and Marshall. And we even did this not only in one environment, but for YouTube and Instagram each, and then just looked what effect did this have for yeah, shopping behavior situation when respondents are taken to Amazon. Right, yeah, and of course, after doing this, we still gave the questionnaire to the respondents, so they had to answer some questions. Yeah, we're just curious to see, yeah, what kind of patterns we see there and how our behavioral shopping metrics can explain these results, or maybe even sharpen them. Yeah, that was the question here. Yeah, and it's another overview about all the behavioral metrics. We are knowing from ad contact that these behavioral metrics provide a much deeper data and therefore insight level, and yeah, hoping that they will do the same in the e-commerce environment. Yeah, what we have here is like we have 2 things we focus on in the study. In the ad contact phase, we have ad visibility, how long was the ad visible, and play duration, how long was the ad actively played. There are 2 things here. And in the online shop, we concentrated on product awareness. So how long was the product visible on the search results page, or how long the customers look at it. And then in the second step, product consideration, how many users really looked at the product on the detail page. So there was a more deeper interest. And of course, in the end, it's all about purchase, how many users did actually add the product to their basket. Yeah, that were the metrics we used. And we would say all these behavioral metrics in the e-commerce situation can be used to illustrate a shopping funnel that shows the important steps of a customer journey in an online shop. And combined, we would say this data provides a new ad effectiveness currency that might offer a great extension of ad effect measurements with questionnaires, or even replace them totally. But let's see if all the promises I've made here so far can be covered with the data we have from our latest eCom study. And that's the, now it's your turn, Lisa.
Yeah,
I have to stop now.
I will quickly share my screen with you. Yeah, thank you, Stefan, for this introduction. I will now share some interesting results with you from our eCom study, and I would say let's begin with some general insights. So we can see that across all brands and verticals, visibility duration as well as playback duration lead to a longer, better ad recall. So visibility and playback duration is highly correlated with free and aided ad recall. This means the more intense the ad recall, the better The more intense the ad contact, the better the ad recall. And here we can see data across all brands and verticals again. The gray column is the control group and the blue one is the test group. And as you may know from previous research, the ad recall metrics is where we can clearly see the effect of the ad usually. And in our study too, ad contact produced large uplifts in ad recall, for example, over 100% plus in aided ad recall. But we don't want to create ad recall only, right? We want to lift the even more important brand funnel metrics like brand favorability or brand interest. And as you can see here, unfortunately, we couldn't find large effects when it comes to these metrics. Compared to ad recall, we found quite weak effects. We can see percentage lifts of only 7% when comparing control and test group. And this is not very surprising because we tested well-known brands and people already have a strong opinion about them. So one single ad contact is not able to change this explicit opinion about the brand. But luckily we have our behavioral data from the Amazon task. We couldn't find clear effects on explicit brand funnel metrics, but the respondents' behavior on Amazon showed strong effects. We have much higher percentage lifts between control and test groups here. So we have a plus of 31% for visibility duration of the product page, 15% for product clicked, and 13% for product in basket. So our behavioral data is clearly much more sensitive than the questionnaire data. And we can see large uplifts and clear effects in several metrics after only one ad contact. And that shows how helpful our tool is because it identifies important ad effects which are not rational but rather implicit. So we already learned that there's a link between playback duration and ad recall, and our behavioral data also shows that a longer playback duration of the ad led to a longer visibility of the advertised product on the Amazon result page. So the more intense the ad contact, the higher the interest in the exposed product. And this correlation between playback duration and product visibility on Amazon was stronger on Instagram, as you can see on the left. A longer ad playback duration of the ad on YouTube, however, did not lead to a longer product visibility on Amazon, as you can see on the right in red. And this difference between YouTube and Instagram leads us to our next chapter. We took a closer look at the performance of the Instagram and YouTube ads and found some interesting result patterns here I will share with you now. So to begin with, the ad playback duration differed greatly between the two platforms. YouTube was played significantly longer with about 8 seconds versus 1.5 seconds for Instagram. And this may not be very surprising to you, but what is surprising is that both platforms showed similar effects. So here you can see questionnaire data from Instagram and YouTube, again across all brands and verticals. And free and aided ad recall, as well as brand favorability and brand interest, are on the same level for both platforms, Instagram and YouTube. And this is also true for the behavior data. Visibility duration of the product page on Amazon was about 6 seconds for both Instagram and YouTube. About 22% clicked on the product and 17% each put the product in the basket. So we didn't find any differences between Instagram and YouTube overall, but we could see differences in brand level, and we will come back to that later. For now, we want to know how does it come to this pattern. So each platform works in its own way, and that's why I suggest to have a closer look at them now. So Instagram and YouTube are both social media, but if we compare the two platforms more closely, we can find quite some differences. So on Instagram, we can scroll further immediately, which leads to the shorter playback duration we already saw. And that means that attention to the ad is voluntary and driven by a certain product interest. Plus, the ad is presented very largely if you compare it to the rather small smartphone screen. And last but not least, on Instagram, the brand is clear, as you can see on the screenshot. Everyone can clearly see who the sender of the ad is. And now let's have a look at YouTube. The YouTube ads are only skippable after 5 seconds, and that means in the first 5 seconds there's a forced exposure for the respondents. Plus, many viewers get distracted by the skip button and its countdown, and we will look at the magic of the countdown in a minute. Another potential distraction on YouTube is other visible content. And lastly, if you compare it to Instagram, the brand is not as clear on YouTube. So as I already said, the skip button with its countdown is a strong attention gainer. It rises interest and thus pulls attention away from the ad itself. And the principle behind this is called scarcity principle. And this means basically that limited things seem more valuable to us. And the countdown triggers exactly this feeling, and that's why the skip button with the countdown gets a lot of attention from the viewers. Okay, these were insights about the 2 social media platforms, Instagram and YouTube. And our last chapter is an interesting brand case where we compared the 2 sports brands Adidas and Nike. And let me first show you the YouTube ads for both brands. First, the Nike ad.
All right, Joyride Beads. I hear if you run long enough, you get something called a runner's high, which sounds like something I really enjoy. Let's do this. Okay, so far so good. Mama Lake? What? Still no high though. Hi. Hey. Oh my God, there it was. My first runner's high. Well, better quit while I'm ahead. I'm good.
So the Nike ad uses storytelling, obviously, and shows a woman aspiring to experience the runner's high or her first runner's high. And she's running and doesn't feel it until another jogger greets her with hi. And then the woman's very excited about her first runner's high. And now let's have a look at the Adidas YouTube ad. So this ad is clearly more product and feature oriented, and the repetition of showing the product and its features and the group of runners is less exciting and entertaining than the story about the runner's high. But due to the fast cuts and the fast music, the ad seems very energetic. And these are the Instagram ads. For Nike, it's exactly the same ad as on YouTube, but with subtitles, so I will skip this one. The Adidas ad is slightly different, but also very product-oriented again, and it is short and works with graphical iconic pictures of the new Adidas running shoe. Okay, so let's begin with Nike. The Nike ad had stronger effects on behavioral data with YouTube. As you can see here, much more respondents clicked the product or put it in the basket if they saw the ad on YouTube. So this is due to the fact that Nike uses storytelling. The dissolution of the runner's high only takes place towards the end of the ad, so a longer playback duration is very important in this case. And the ad works better if people see and understand the whole storyline about the runner's high, which is the case for YouTube with its longer playback duration. And the Adidas ad, on the other hand, worked better on Instagram. Both metrics, product clicked and product in basket, were higher for the Instagram ad. And in this case, the Adidas Instagram ad was able to really create a moment in this short time period because it shows the product clearly and convincingly. And despite the extra time, the longer YouTube spot doesn't increase this ad effect. So far we already saw a lot of interesting general results, platform differences, as well as brand differences. And now we want to compare data from our questionnaire with our behavioral data from the Amazon shopping task. And again, here you can see data for the control group in gray, as well as the Instagram and YouTube test groups for Adidas. And when looking at the survey data on the left, we can see quite fuzzy results. So favorability and interest do not really differ from platform to platform. But our behavioral shopping data on the right gives us a clear result pattern. Respondents who saw the Adidas ad on Instagram clicked on the product and put the product in the basket more often. And yeah, our behavioral data shows clear differences between the two platforms, whereas the questionnaire data was not able to do that. And this is also true for Nike. When looking at the questionnaire data for Nike, we see again quite fuzzy results. Again, there are no great differences between Instagram and YouTube, but our behavioral data shows us again a clear result pattern. The Nike ad worked better on YouTube. So we can sum up that our behavioral data is much more sensitive than the questionnaire data, and this helps us creating deeper insights about the ad effectiveness. And now Stefan will explain what the magical 2.5 seconds from our media attention benchmark have to do with this Adidas versus Nike case, and we'll also summarize our key takeaways of this eCom study.
All right, thank you, Lisa. A lot of very interesting numbers. Yeah, I mean, you just explained a lot of it already, but maybe to come back to this magical 2.5 seconds, it's very clear here. You have this on the one side, you have the Adidas creatives. The one for Instagram is yeah, really perfectly adapted for this short moment on the Instagram. And we have seen in the Instagram world, we are below this 2.5 seconds, so we need to be very fast, or creatives need to be very fast. And this is what this Adidas creative did very well. Yeah, we had this unique visual design, we have this aesthetic brand moment, and it's really clear and fast to the point, to this very new product feature. So we would say this is a really iconic ad code that was here delivered by this ad. On the other hand, when it comes to the longer situation, the situations more than 2.5 seconds, we see that the Nike spot really works better. Yeah, as you explained, either it uses a storyline, it uses a climax, it has an IC moment, it has this moment of humor and positive emotions, and that really works better in this longer time period, and it also attracted more users to watch until the end. So this is really working better in the YouTube environment. And so you can see it's really like, you have to be really careful what kind of media you are using, what kind of media channel you are using. And of course, there are optimization for both of these campaigns. So for the Nike campaign, there's maybe for Instagram, they have to shorten it. They have to create this really outstanding moment in the first seconds. And of course, for Adidas, it's just not enough to repeat other product features again and again in YouTube spot, but maybe to show something new and yeah, evoke interest by the users. Yeah, that's to the media attention benchmark here, and then maybe we move over to the key takeaways. Yeah, there were a lot of numbers, but I tried to put this to the real important things here. I would say the first thing we've seen is that purchasing behavior on Amazon is a better indicator of small effects in the survey. It's just like, as we were thinking on before, we have a lot more data here. We have behavioral data. This is much more sensitive. It's on a millisecond level, and we just see that with these data we can yeah, predict sales and shopping behavior much better than the questionnaire. The next thing is we were able to find more meaningful patterns than with the survey. Lisa has shown this. Of course, you have very small effects when it comes to these brand metrics, these brand funnel metrics like interest or favorability. And of course, these small effects sometimes do not show clear result patterns. But for the behavioral situation where people do not think about the brand in a rational way, but just do what they do normally, you can see differences and they can see a clear ad effect. And this is another important thing we found out here. Then, of course, you see that there are big differences between the different media platforms. For some of you, maybe social media is one aspect, but you see even within social media, there are so many differences. Then this, of course, is the same for different media channels. And in the end, that's what we always see when we test creative. Creative optimizations are very important. You've seen that Adidas with this adaptation for Instagram really created a much better creative. That's what we always see. And that's the good creatives are always very successful. I would say that are the key takeaways. Anything I forgot, Lisa?
No, thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, now it's your turn.
So let's see. There are different opportunities. You can best is maybe just to write your questions into the chat so we can answer them. Just wait, there's so many numbers. There's a question. Do we do these studies a lot in the US? Yes, we do. As most of our studies, we do a lot of them in the US. We have now this German case here, but of course, this is also working in the US and it's requested by a lot of clients in the US, as well as in context testing. They are really, US clients are really keen for this kind of research. Oh, there are a lot of questions now. So another one, can you conduct these on any product or category? Yes, we can do it. It's like you've seen here 3 different verticals, but basically the system runs for all different categories. Yeah, that's no problem. Another question here is, do the participants need a special app? No, they don't. It's all within the browser, so you don't need to download anything, stuff like this. It's just working. There's a pricing question. It's not so easy to answer, but I think the whole thing starts with about $5,000 US, I would say, and then of course, if you add more ads or verticals, it's not 5,000 each, but it starts around this. Timing questions. I think the fastest timing here is about 4 to 5 days. 4 days, I think it is. Yeah, it's like normally when you start such a thing the first time with the client, you need to arrange some things and clarify some things about special questions, maybe in the questionnaire, and special product category situations you have there. But then in the end, it's about 4 days. All right. There's another question. I mentioned this. Can it be automated? Yes, it can be. Of course, the study setup is thought in a way that this can be automated. So we have certain product categories that are just there where you can just insert different products and then start. All right, a lot of questions. So let's wait for another Give me a second. Okay, yeah, I think that were the questions for today. Yeah, then thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. I hope this is an interesting tool for you. Yeah, we really find it very interesting, see very clear results with the tests. Have a lot of clients that are really interested in this. So if you want to know more, please reach out. We can, of course, send slides of the decks and stuff like this. And of course, at the end, we would like to point to the next week when we have our next webinar. It's about System Zero. I've said some things about System Zero today, but they have a lot more about this meter analysis and eye tracking and attention spans. Will be very exciting as well. Philip and Michelle will give this webinar next Thursday on 11 May. All right. Then I would say thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.